Now that we've completed projects and services, let's go on to the next section. So that is access to health. So for this video, we're going to do a super quick recap of some of the stuff we've already done previously. And we're also going to look at question validation. So not display logic, although we'll cover that as well, but ensuring that the values entered in a question adhere to certain rules. So let's just work together and set up a new section, including the target population, all the way up to question 12. So going back to our ComCare project space and into the form editor, again, we can see all the previous questions that we've entered. In order to make everything, or give ourselves a little bit more oversight, we can collapse all of the questions that we've previously done. And a quick way of doing that, so we can do it individually by going like this, or alternatively, we can come up here. So if you have a lot of questions already in your form, and just say collapse all. So that is this button here, and then collapse all. Great. So now we just click on project and services because we want to insert a question group after project and services. Go to add question, groups, add a group, and then access to health. Done. Okay, so first question, target population. So I'm just going to select everything for this question, including the parentheses. And so this is obviously a numeric variable. So we're going to add a number. It's going to be an integer because we can have 1.5 people or 1,000.5 people. So integer, and I'm just going to paste. Okay, so now here is the big difference between our display text and the question ID. So when we want to display our data in Power BI or on our dashboard, we want it to just read target population. Usually, this bit in parentheses is just for the benefit of the enumerators. So, it doesn't really serve us at all when building out our dashboards. So I'm just going to click on, anywhere other than the question. And now we can see that it's writable, our question ID. And I'm just going to delete the bit that's in parentheses. And again, so another issue with numbers or number question is that it's always very tricky to make it required. So for instance, when we have multiple choice questions, we can always add an option, don't know or no response. When it comes to numbers, you cannot type this. You cannot type oh, the respondent doesn't know. So if we make it required and the respondent doesn't know, then we're going to run into a bit of trouble because the enumerator clearly wants to continue carrying out the assessment. So usually what happens is they just fill in any old number. So my advice is always to leave these questions unrequired, and then you can add a bit of help text here in the display. So saying leave blank if the respondent doesn't know. Perfect. Okay, next question. Do refugee and host population have access to the same or same quality health services? Just going to select the entire question, copy it, and then it's just a yes/no multiple choice question. So add question, multiple choice, paste. And here we see another issue with the latest version of ComCare is sometimes it doesn't copy the entire question ID, which is obviously what we want. So I'm just going to reselect everything and just make sure that my question ID makes sense. This time I can make it required and then just a simple yes and no. Great. Then the next question, which is a conditional question. So if no is the answer to question 10, then where does the host population access health services? So in ComCare, this is done automatically. This if no is part of our display condition. So we can leave this bit out. in the display text as well as in the question ID. So I'm just going to say, where does the host population access health services? So this is a text question. Just going to capitalize this. This remains lowercase, that's fine. And we can make this required, because in this case they can just simply insert don't know. So in my opinion, I would try to avoid these like open text questions. Always try to make it multiple choice or checkbox, and then just have an other option. And then we're at our final question for this video. How many days per week is the facility open? And this is clearly a number question. And I didn't properly copy that, so let's try that again. There we go. Again, I'm not going to make it required, but there's already something fun we can do, namely in the validation condition. So we want this question, obviously, not to be greater than 7, and it should be greater than, or it should be equal or greater than 0. So let's do that first. So this question, I'm just going to drag the question itself into the expression, and that's going to give us a full stop. And the full stop indicates, obviously, that it's referencing itself. So it's greater than or equal to 0. And then I'm going to add another expression. So again, we're referencing the question itself, or you can just type a full stop. Should be less than or equal to 7. And so up here, there's two options for validation. We can say true when all of the expressions are true, or true when any of the expressions are true. So this is basically an AND statement, and this is an OR statement. And in our case, we want it to be an AND statement. All of the expressions need to be true. The response needs to be greater than or equal to 0, and it needs to be less than or equal to 7. If we were to choose any of the expressions are true, and I write an 8, then the overall expression is true, because 8 is greater than or equal to 0, but not less than or equal to 7. But that doesn't matter, because it's already greater than or equal to 0, so it qualifies as being true. So we want all of these expressions to be true. Let's save. And of course we forgot one important thing, is to actually add our display condition in the previous question. So where does the host population access health services? Remember, that's only if the previous question is no. So let's just quickly add in this expression. So I'm going to drag this question, do refugee and host populations have access to health services? Should be no. And when it is no, we're going to display this question. In the next video, we'll look at doing some calculated values using this question, the how many days per week is the facility open. See you there.